Hello, my loves, and welcome to the Fuck Trauma podcast. I am so excited to share this episode with you because it's something that's really transformed my entire life and my entire teachings. And now I'm ready to really share it in all its glory so that you can apply it for yourself the way that I have applied it for myself and changed my life, my relationships, and the way that I have taught my clients. This is different to what you've been taught till now, but I do believe that now is a time where people are becoming more conscious and they are realizing that they have way more power than they can imagine. You have so much freaking power to change everything in your entire life. And bridging the gap of where you are right now, Aisha attachment, to where you can be, where things can really change for you. And you know, you've probably heard of like the law of attraction before. I think it's a very popular thing and it's how I began understanding manifestation too. And basically there's certain laws of that govern this universe, and everything is energy, and you can manifest things when you understand these laws. But they're always operating. Even if you don't understand them, even if you don't buy into woo-woo, it is science backed. There is so much proof and evidence of what's happening, and everybody is talking about this, and everybody is using this to create their experiences, successful or not. A lot of the time it's on default, and you are actually manifesting experiences that you don't want through lack and scarcity and through loss and your old wounds and your old fears and your own old beliefs. And this is exactly what I was doing in my relationships and in my life until I started to really open myself up to this work. So the law of attraction is something that people talk about a lot, but for me, I found that really hard to really create a lot because, they talk about being a high vibe. How can you be in a high vibe when, my childhood was so fucking traumatic and I had very difficult things in my life. I had very difficult, turbulent relationships, whether it be with family, with my relationship with myself. My relationship with myself was so fucking negative and hurtful and self-loathing, and because of my trauma. And I then had really fucking unhealthy romantic relationships. On top of that, I came from, social housing. So I had no money. I had no understanding of abundance when it came to money. Had so much trauma in my childhood that I couldn't focus on school. My home life was horrendous. So I wasn't able to focus on school. That was the last thing. Thinking about ratios, when you have, real flipping problems weighed down on your shoulders as a child, it doesn't resonate. School was a place that I was going there to get away and to somewhat you know be a child, I guess, not to sit there trying to study and take something seriously, because I couldn't do it. My mind couldn't focus. It was dealing with really real problems. I left school with no GCSEs, 0 or 1 in drama, because of the family dynamics and abuse that I'd gone through, and the hand I'd been dealt, right? So, being high vibe and just thinking positive thoughts that law of attraction kind of teaches you, kind of wasn't really going to happen for me. I was in fight or flight. My nervous system was constantly on edge. I was in survival my whole fucking life, and I was anxious as hell and fearful, and so, all of these things. It just wasn't really working for me, and it was hard to understand it and really apply it. However, I will say that I've manifested lots of things in this time, but I didn't understand how I was doing it until I went down the TikTok rabbit hole of law of assumption. And I started to understand the law of assumption and how, personally, that made so much sense. And it's easy to apply to your life, that I started to study it, apply it to myself, and then now I'm able to teach it to other people how to apply it and change their lives, which I'm so grateful to see. And now I want to share it with you so that you can apply it yourself, but from a lens of somebody that has trauma, has experienced dysfunction in their family, and had anxious attachment style. All of these things make it a little bit more different to manifest these things. But I promise you, it is totally possible. And I want to share from where you are currently to take you to where you can be, where you can let go of all of that and you can become it. So in this episode, I want to share with you the principles of the law of assumption and practically how you can use it to change your relationships and your life. We'll start with your relationships, and I'll teach you more on everything else. So the law of assumption is a universal law, and it was taught by a man called Neville Goddard. And he is one of the most influential teachers of manifestation and consciousness. Yeah, I mean, he's not alive now, so you wouldn't be seeing him on your TikTok screen, but you've probably heard people talk about Neville Goddard as such, and that's the case. So he taught that your imagination is the creative power of your reality. Your imagination, your mind, is what creates your 3D experience, your reality, okay? And that what you assume to be true about yourself and the world becomes your lived experience. So Neville believed that there's no separation because we are all one consciousness and you are not separate from your reality. The outer world, your experience in your reality, isn't happening to you. Nobody is doing anything to you. The world is happening through you. It's expressing itself through you. And every person, situation, and experience is reflecting your inner assumptions, beliefs, and state of being. So instead of trying to change circumstances or people, you change your assumptions instead. You change your beliefs and you change your state of being instead, and you decide who you are being instead, not from your past, but from what you are deciding now, who you are right now in this day. And it's not about forcing action or chasing anything or anyone, because we know that does not work. That creates them to pull away even more, to put the money on the pedestal, or the business on the pedestal, or whatever, clients, whatever it is that you're trying to create in your life, that just puts them on a pedestal. You're not going to get it that way. What you do is you embody the version of you who already has that thing. And when you do that, you literally get rid of all the resistance of chasing it or wanting it, so much so that it's out of reach, it's on a pedestal and you're running after it. You get rid of all the resistance because you are now it, and you have that power to do that. And that is exactly what I did when I manifested my partner, my fiance. And I've done it in so many different ways, but I'm going to share with you practically how you can do it from where you are now to, change your life, change your relationships. So there are some core principles around the law of assumption that, I'm not going to lie, when I first heard them, they are so freaking different to everything that the world has taught us that, there's an ego mind in you, your fearful mind, your survival mind that, I just spoke about, who grew up in all that trauma and everything, that was like, no, stay where you are. You don't need to learn that. This is not how it works, but I promise you this is how it works. That is your survival mind that's just trying to keep you safe, but it's also trying to keep you very fucking small. And you don't need to be small. You get to create everything that you possibly want in your life. So some of these things are going to be freaking confronting, and I get that. But just trust that if you felt called to this episode, then you are ready to hear this. And I will do my best to articulate it and teach you this so you can apply it yourself more. So the first thing is everyone is you pushed out. There is no one to change but you. So what do I mean by this? And this is what my teachings have been recently, and this is why it gets incredible results. Everyone in your reality is reflecting your internal state and what you believe about yourself. So if you believe you're not chosen, you will experience not being chosen over and over and over again. If you will believe love means inconsistency, you'll attract people who are inconsistent over and over and over again. If you believe you only attract avoidance, you will attract people that appear avoidant over and over and over again. If you believe men are intimidated by you, you will get evidence that men are intimidated by you, because it is all coming from you and your story. And I know there's probably a part of you that's like, like that's a lot of fucking self-responsibility. I get it. I was like that too. But fucking hell, how fucking liberating is it that you can go on the journey to changing this? And that's what we'll do. Because there's no one to fix or chase. There is only you. So whenever you change yourself, your self-concept, your assumptions, your inner talk, that little shitty doubtful devil on your shoulder that tells you, you don't matter, your needs don't matter, look at you in the mirror, all of that stuff, when you change that, which you have the power to I'm amazing, I'm great, I'm loved, I'm all these things, people and circumstances will automatically change to match that new identity of you. That's what happens. So you don't change them. So for instance, I'll give you an example, right? I've changed my self-concept now to being somebody that's chosen, right? I speak a lot around before I was somebody that wasn't chosen, and how that manifests is they're not ready for a relationship. They choose someone else. They got scared and they run away from feelings. All of it is the belief that you're not chosen. All of it is what you are creating, reflection of that belief in you. Okay. So when I changed my beliefs to I am chosen, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what I did. I manifested my partner who chooses me all the fucking time. Like, it's actually scary how much you see it in your reality of like constantly chosen. And now anytime, for instance, I'm human. Like there's any time that like maybe we've had an argument and I feel like, I've slipped out of that powerful state of I'm chosen, and I've maybe allowed like my old self to speak a little bit more and be a bit more fearful. And maybe in that moment, there's distance between us because we've had this argument because I'm in this state. I will take the moment, the time, and instead of like going to run after him to try and bridge that gap of space and be like, please talk to me, please let's sort this out and fix this. This is exactly what I used to do before in my relationships, desperate to fix the space of that anxiety that I was feeling. I don't feel that anxiety now because I've regulated my nervous system and I've done everything that I share with you. But I will notice, hold on 1 second, I'm not in that state anymore. So I am now in a state of whatever it is, okay? I've slipped out of it. So then I will take my time and I will sit with myself and be like, I'm always chosen, Candice. Remember who you are. I'm always chosen. I'm always chosen in silence. I'm always chosen in distance. So it automatically, that bridges that gap of there might be some silence between us. We've had our argument. And so, and maybe he's like taking time, whatever, and I'm doing my thing. I won't chase him now. I will change my inner state and who I am being. And I promise you what happens when you have that belief and when you sit with yourself and you do that, he'll be ready to fix it and he'll be the one wanting to fix this. That is the difference. It will change the state. Now, what used to happen in my previous relationships is I never knew any of this and I was in the state of I'm not chosen. I used to run after them, desperate to get that gap, and they just used to pull away further and they'd not speak to me for 3 days, or we'd be in a fight for 3 days. But that doesn't happen anymore, because when I realized that this is what I've done, I've slipped out of this state, I put myself back in the state. I changed the story. I will be like, of course, no, he's fine now, he's ready to fix this. I'm always chosen. And before you know it, your reality changes. They have no choice but to reflect that back to you. And it's only because you've shifted into that state that they are doing that. So there is no one to change but yourself. So that is an example of it in that respect. The second principle is your self-concept is your foundation, okay? Now, the reason why you might have tried to manifest things in the past, right? You might have tried to like attract things to you in your past. Maybe let's say a relationship, you want to attract a relationship to your partner, and you can't do it. They don't come in, or they do, and then your anxiety comes in, you sabotage it, and they're gone again, right? That used to happen to me all the time. That is because your self-concept is your story that you hold about yourself. So if your story is, I'm not chosen, my needs don't matter, I'm too much, that would have been formed in childhood, and if you have an anxious attachment style, these are your beliefs, then your subconscious mind, there is no one outside of you. It is all your subconscious mind that is creating this for you. You are God of your reality, literally. And your subconscious mind has no choice but to keep proving them beliefs right. So you will just get more evidence of this over and over again, that I'm not enough, and you'll attract people in your experiences that reflect that back to you. So your self-concept and the story that you tell about yourself, and be really honest with yourself. I'm going to stop speaking for just a second. What is the story that you tell about yourself? Whatever came to mind right then is your story that is playing out over and over and over again. That I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, that people leave me, that I'm never chosen, that they always choose someone else, I can't trust people, I can't rely on people. All of that is a story that is created to protect you, but you are carrying it forward. It was created a long time ago, just like I had those stories from my childhood too. And, as you get older, you just create more experiences that confirm those beliefs. So your relationships reflect those beliefs back to you, those stories over and over again until you change them. And that is the power of self-concept. So when you change the story, you change your self-concept, your identity, your state of being, and they have no choice but to reflect that back. You will get examples that will reflect that back. That might mean that some of the things that you've chosen up until this point might fall away because they were in alignment with your old identity of somebody that's not chosen, but then it's only creating the space for people that will choose you. That is the key. That's why I teach this stuff, because it changes everything for you. And unfortunately, your self-concept is built on your anxiety, on your anxious attachment style currently, and your trauma from your childhood or your relationships or your life up until this point. It has created your story, and it will be creating your future if you choose to carry it forward, which is why I teach this, because I want you to change that story and it will change your experiences. This is what I did to change my life. Number 3 is that your consciousness creates your reality. You are the only creator. There is only you. People are reflections of your experiences. They are having their own experiences. They have their own lens to look through, and how people treat you is and how they be in your relationship is all part of your story. So there is no one and nothing outside of you. You are the creator of your reality. Your subconscious mind holds your identity, and your reality will mirror that identity back to you. So no one is doing anything to you. That avoidant didn't do anything to you. They're not ghosting you. They are just playing out your assumptions about them, your beliefs about yourself. They are just playing that out. And the good thing is you get to change it. You get to change it. And I know that is really difficult because your ego mind wants to say, they're doing this to me, they're doing this to me, they're doing this to me. But if it keeps happening to you, which it is, I know, you keep having the same experiences, it's giving you feedback of what you need to change. And it's beautiful because there is no one that can change it other than you. It is all you. So number 4, the principle of number 4 is your state of being is what creates, okay? So you manifest from the state that you're living in. Your state is your energy, your embodiment, your thoughts, your nervous system, baseline, the version of you that you're currently being. So right now, your state of being is somebody that is anxious. You have an anxious attachment style and you only attract avoidance. That is your story. That's your state, okay? So you'll act from that fear, you'll speak from that fear, and you perceive from that fear. That will constantly be your lens. But if you're secure, if you're in a state of security, you'll naturally act from calm, confidence, and self-trust. And you can shift your state at any time by regulating your nervous system and embodying the secure version of you. This is why I teach this so much. Now, the thing is, it is harder for you to hold that state right now. So imagine if I said to you, okay, go ahead, be the secure version of you now. Shift your state to a secure state right now. You would be able to hold it for like maybe 10 minutes. And then something would come along or a trigger or a thought in your mind would come along and say, no, that's not true. You're anxious. You're this. No, they don't want you, or they're pulling back, or they haven't texted back. And you would shift out of that state instantly, right? And that is what I teach, and why I teach it from the lens of somebody that, has these anxiety, these traumas, is because you have to change your subconscious beliefs first to be able to hold the secure state. So when I figured all this out, I couldn't hold the flipping secure state. I couldn't hold being in a relationship with my dream man. I couldn't hold being chosen, because I had subconscious beliefs that were so freaking rooted in me from childhood that were constantly like, no, but you're not, right? So I had to change my subconscious beliefs first, and then it became easier to assume and stay in the state of course I'm chosen, of course they want me, of course I'm, this, I'm that, whatever it is. When you regulate your nervous system and change your subconscious beliefs, it becomes a lot easier to stay in that state. And it is that state that manifests. If you stay in a state of like, I am happily married to my dream man, and you've done the subconscious work and the nervous system work, because that's exactly what I did. I was doing all of this work that allowed me to then stay in the state. And for like a month, I stayed in the state of like, I am happily married to my dream man. I do not care what my reality tells me. I wasn't even dating anyone at the time. I was like, this is just who I am. This is my state. I don't care. I'm not looking for it. I'm not searching for it. I'm not forcing it. I'm not trying to make people fit it. I just know this is who I am. And I promise you, I met my fiance in that time because I had done this work. That allowed me to stay in that state. And some people that are so secure as it is, they will find it easier to manifest these things because they don't have, their nervous system isn't dysregulated, and they're not having these subconscious beliefs that are already very negative and the opposite of what you're trying to create. But when you have, when you've experienced dysfunction and trauma and all these things, that is why I teach you how to do it from that place, because then you are changing your identity and you will be able to hold it. So when the manifestation comes in, when that person comes in, you won't subconsciously sabotage it, because that's what I was doing beforehand. I would manifest people into my reality and, relationships. But then as soon as they came in, my anxiety would kick in, my fears would kick in, my identity, my self-concept would kick in, that story, and then they'd be gone. They'd ghosted me or whatever, or that is what would keep happening because I hadn't truly changed. So when I changed that, that's when I was able to hold my manifestation when it came in without sabotaging it. And now obviously I'm engaged because of that. That is everything I teach you, is everything I've lived and I'm living proof. And not only that, I've taught it loads to my clients. Like, they've literally shifted their whole realities. They've manifested partners back that they sabotaged initially. They've manifested them back, then decided they don't want them, or they've changed relationships. They've changed family dynamics with this teaching. They've changed their whole self-concept with themselves, and they're living completely different lives, and they've created all these wonderful relationships. They're adored, they're pursued, all of these things is exactly what I'm teaching you now. So the fifth principle is imagination is power. Your imagination is what creates it. It's not fantasy. It is it first. You have to live it first. So remember what I said. I was living in my mind that I am happily married to my dream man before my 3D reality showed me that. I was in that state and I would visualize it, and I just knew, I could feel the energy of that's who it was. I accepted it as true. And then before you knew it, it came into my reality because I'd got rid of any of that resistance there and that separation, because I accepted my imagination was true. And the truth is, if you have a visualization or some kind of feeling, whatever it is because there is another version of you in another timeline, because we have so many timelines. Time is not real. It's just what we've created for ourselves, but it's not real. As conscious beings, it's not real. There is another version of you in another timeline that is already experiencing that visualization that you can see. And all you are doing with the law of assumption is becoming that person, that version of you, so that you can experience it in your 3D reality. So it will harden into fat if you accept it as real. That's why it did. It manifests so quick. When I realized I was doing all of these techniques, I was doing all of these things. And then as soon as I realized, like, this is in my imagination, I have this clear picture in my imagination. And when I say clear picture, it's not like I could see a person or what was happening. It's just more like a feeling of experience that you can see. It doesn't make any sense, but it's there. And I knew it was so there, but but it wasn't until I accepted it as true that this is mine now, and I stopped trying to search for it or force it or whatever it was, that it unfolded instantly. It completely happened so quickly. But before that, I was doing it. I was trying to make it happen. It's when you accept it as truth, then it has no choice but to manifest, and you'll experience it in your reality. And with that means that your circumstances don't matter. So this is a prime example. If you have unconsciously sabotaged a relationship and they've, you're not in contact with someone, if in your imagination, this is why you can manifest people back. If in your imagination you are in a relationship with that person, you can feel it, you keep coming back to that state, because it's not just, you have to keep coming back to that state. You can't be in that imagination with that person in that relationship, and then as soon as you come out of your imagination, you look at your phone and you go, oh, they don't want me, they're with someone else. Then you've just lost that state completely, okay? You have to train your mind and body to be in alignment with it. And if you accept it as true, even if they're not talking to you, there's no contact, they don't want you, they blocked you, they don't care, it doesn't matter. Circumstances do not matter. It is law. If you persist in it, it will become your reality. It is law. It has no freaking choice. So it doesn't matter whether they said they don't want you. What will happen is they will start to want you. They will start to think about you more. They'll start to miss you. Even if you're in no contact, it's all energy. It's all thought transmission. It will start to manifest, okay? There'll be a bridge of incidents, as Neville puts it, where, maybe you start to see them in a supermarket, or maybe there's something will happen and it might look different to what you were expecting, but it will be your 3D reality recreating itself to bring your manifestation to you. And when I've done this before in other things, like, you might lose a job, you might lose a client, you might lose a situationship, suddenly they'll go out of your reality. But if you keep focusing on what you want, that is all the bridge of incidents that's happening to create the space to bring that person into you, or bring whatever it is you're manifesting into you. It has no choice. So that is why, I've had clients that will want to manifest someone back from their past. And so I teach them this, and they will stay in that. And then that person reaches out to them. Suddenly they've changed. They're different. They want to rekindle. And that's what happens. They get back with that person, or they don't want that person anymore because they've leveled up their self-concept. It doesn't matter. Circumstances don't matter. They will change because they have no choice, because there is only one consciousness. It is you. And, I know this one's a really hard one to accept, but people have no free will in your reality. They have no choice but to play out your story, because everything is a reflection of you. That is why everyone keeps reflecting back your assumptions and your beliefs and your story. They have no choice, literally. And the sixth principle of this is thought transmission is so freaking real, guys. So people are literally energetically getting your assumptions and your thoughts, even without words. So if you keep saying in your mind, or keep thinking or looking for proof, or they don't want me, they've lost interest, they don't want me, they lost interest, they don't want me, they lost interest, they have no choice but to play that role. Even sometimes they will say those exact words to you. I've told you before, I've had people that literally, they will repeat my affirmations back to me, which is great. Or They have literally said the exact words that I was thinking that were negative, or the exact circumstance has played out exactly as I was thinking, and they have said exactly it because they have no choice. So if you assume that, of course, they want me, they love me, they miss me, they always choose me, then their behavior will change. They will start to do that. They will have no choice but to play that out. If you start to be like, they miss me, they miss me, they miss me, they'll probably tell you that they miss you. It is that simple. It's what your assumptions are. It's all one consciousness, is all energy. So you're not controlling them. You're controlling the energy and the assumption you're projecting, and they simply mirror it. It's literally that. They think through your assumptions. So thought transmission is so real, and it's not a coincidence when they say exactly back to you what exactly you were thinking. It's not a fucking coincidence, okay? There is no such thing as coincidences. You are creating it. It is all you. Then number 7 is so fucking powerful, especially for my community, to learn them. Everything is neutral. You give everything meaning. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you assign to it. So for you, this is what happens, right? Somebody takes longer to reply to a text. You give it because your assumptions and your identity and your state is based on anxious attachment style. You give it the meaning that they're losing interest, that they don't want you, that they found someone else, right? It has no choice but to play out. No choice whatsoever. So that is exactly what has happened to you in the past. I know it. That's why, okay? You've given it the meaning that it's bad. That's what's happening. And that's what has no choice. But you, when you realize this, can also give it the meaning of, they've taken longer to respond, but that must just because they're busy buying me flowers and they can't stop thinking about me and they're like talking to their friends about me. If you gave it that meaning, that is what you would see play out too. And I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you, try it. Give something the good meaning. I'm assuming the best case scenario here. And I know it's hard, and this is why I teach what I teach, because I know your mind and your nervous system will automatically want to go back to, but it wasn't like that before. No, this didn't happen. I'm not chosen. I'm not wanted. It will want to take you back to that fear, that negative. And I get that. But when you change your subconscious beliefs and you regulate yourself, you will be able to give it good meaning. Because if you believe you're so fucking chosen, then of course you're going to be like, oh, they've taken longer to respond. Oh, they must be thinking of me right now. They must be obsessed with me. They're so busy on their laptop planning something sweet for me. They haven't even realized their phone. You can give it that meaning. It's only because you keep giving it the meaning that they lose interest and they don't want you, that they're thinking of someone else or they're with someone else, that is what plays out. Whichever meaning you choose becomes the reality you experience. Try it. I promise you. This happens all the time. I use this one all the time because everything is just neutral. It's completely neutral. And with that, is the thing of like, your triggers are only there to show you what your self-concept and what you believe about yourself to be true. If you get triggered and because you keep experiencing something and you get triggered and you get that feeling in your body and you're feeling anxious, is only showing you what you believe to be true about yourself. So your 3D, your reality and what you're experiencing is so fucking powerful because it's telling you the story that you have on autopilot in your subconscious. And when you realize that, you can change it. So now that's what happens. When I see something that happens to me and I feel that trigger in my body and in myself, I will be like, okay, what do I believe about myself to be true? Okay, I believe that I have a belief here that, I'm not worthy of this or that my needs don't matter or whatever it is. I'll figure out what it is that's playing out here. And then I will neutralize it. I'll use EFT tapping, which is why I teach it. I will use my method, my EFT tapping, to neutralize those beliefs. And so what happens is the next time that happens, I won't be triggered so much, or I might be a bit triggered still, and that's fine because you just have to keep working on it. Sometimes these triggers are a bit, these beliefs are a bit rooted, but you will then react from a different place. And when you react from a different place, you will get that reflected back to you. So if you believed your needs don't matter, but then you've been neutralizing that belief, and then in your reality your partner does something that dismisses your beliefs, for instance, or invalidates your beliefs, before you would have got so freaking triggered and you would have reacted from that place. But because that is now an opportunity of feedback to see who you're going to be in this moment. Now, if you have been neutralizing yourself to be like, no, my needs do matter, at that point, you might react from your old self of like believing that they're invalidating you. Or that is your option to be like, no, my needs matter. I am going to persist in sharing what my needs are here. They do matter. They matter to me. I'm not going to minimize my own needs here. And they will have no choice but to reflect that back. Suddenly, your needs will be the most priority. That is how it works. That is the example, because you, in that moment, you've had a fork in the road moment. You've shifted from your old self to a new self where you're believing your belief and you are taking aligned action from it, and it will have no choice. They will have no choice but to reflect that back. So number 8 is that revision and rewriting the past is totally possible. And this is the bridge between healing and manifesting, which is what, my principles and my reprogramming work, my inner child healing, my subconscious reprogramming work. That's why it's so fucking powerful at doing that, because this is my method. So the past only exists as a memory. It literally doesn't exist. Even my childhood trauma that I experienced, it doesn't exist. It only exists in my memory and the story I keep telling myself. It's just in your imagination. So when you change that past event, or when you change that feeling, for instance, what you would do if you've ever tried inner child healing, you go back to that little girl, that little boy, and you change how they feel. That changes your inner state, your inner ability, and then it starts to change everything. It's the same way you can use it to see people differently. If you want to change a story about someone, you can go back into your consciousness and you can change how they treated you, for instance. It is the same thing that's happening, like I said, when you're manifesting someone back. You are changing the story because you are now holding in your consciousness. They didn't block you. They love you. They want you. And it has no choice but to play out that way. So your subconscious beliefs are formed in childhood, and that's what keeps playing out. So, for instance, that is why inner child healing or working with younger parts of you is so great, because you get to revise everything that happened to them. You, instead of that little girl, little guy believing they're not loved, they're not chosen, you can shift it to them believing that they are loved and chosen, and that changes everything. It literally rewrites your experiences that you experience in your reality from this day going forward, because the past literally only exists in your mind. And when I say that, I don't mean that you didn't experience anything you experienced. You absolutely did. I experienced everything I experienced too. And I know that some of us have very difficult, tricky relationships with people in our family dynamics and things like that, or ex-partners and things like that. I'm not invalidating your experiences of what you had. You absolutely did have those experiences, but you have the choice now to decide whether you want to keep creating those experiences going forward. And that is the difference. I had all of those experiences, and I could have very much decided, no, this is my identity. I'm going to hold on to this forever. And this is the case. But I would keep recreating that over and over again in my relationships, in my life. And so I had to decide to rewire that and change that. That doesn't mean it didn't exist. I didn't experience it. I did. But it just means that I've decided to let go of the hold that it has over me and that story that I'm telling, so that I can tell the story that's in alignment with my future self and what I really want for my future relationships or whatever it is. I can change that story. And that is the beautiful thing, because when you do that, you can do that, and your reality changes, your future changes, because the past is only keeps recreating because you are in the same identity and assuming the same things, and you have the same beliefs that of the person that created it in the first place. So, I've spoken openly that like my childhood was traumatic, and then when I was married when I was younger, and I went into relationships, they just were showing me the same thing over again. It was like my childhood was repeating. It was completely different, because it wasn't my family doing it to me now, it was my partner. But it was because I held that story about myself from my childhood. I held those same beliefs, and so it was just manifesting in my relationship again and again. Then when I went in a relationship with what appeared to be an avoidant, it was just my beliefs, my abandonment beliefs that were coming from my childhood when my dad left me at 3 years of age. It was just just playing out the reality in my relationships, in my world, right? So that is just where you are creating the past over and over again, and you're experiencing again. And what you're experiencing, I know it fucking hurts, and I know you feel those things, but I don't want you to keep going and creating more when you can change who you are being, and you can create harmonious, wonderful, secure, healthy relationships instead, which is exactly what I did. I decided I'm going to let go the version of me and all of those beliefs that created those experiences for me. And I'm going to decide that I deserve and I'm worthy of a healthy partner that adores me and loves me and cherishes me, and a family and all of these things. And I'm going to keep persisting in that. Which brings me back to the last principle, is you have to live in the end. You have to persist through the 3D. Your faith as your state. Now, that is faith in the unseen. When you start shifting your subconscious beliefs, if you've done any of my EFT tapping, you might start to see sometimes the opposite plays out in your reality. And that is because those beliefs are purging out of you, and those things are purging out. So for instance, when I started my journey to my business that I have now, this was many years ago, I was in a corporate job. But every day I knew inside of myself that this was not what I was supposed to do. I was not meant to be in a corporate job. I hid myself in my corporate job. I wasn't able to be myself, and I wasn't using my gifts. I pretended like I was like them, and that I didn't have this very difficult dysfunctional family and childhood, and that I was just the same, and I just put a mask on, right? But I knew that I was supposed to help people. I knew it. I just knew it. I knew it when I was a child. I knew that the experiences I was having was happening, or I assumed it, for me to be able to share it with the world and help other people. But I was so afraid of doing that, because there was so much vulnerability in doing that, and in taking the mask off and standing here right now, or sitting here right now and sharing this with you. It was hard, right? But what happened is I started to listen to that point of me. I started to feel, this was before I even understood the law of assumption, but I can see so many ways of how I've actually manifested things without knowing this law existed. But I didn't understand it the way that I do now, where I'm able to now teach it and really embody it. But basically, I started to be like, this is my visualization. I just knew I had this feeling in me that I was meant to help people, right? I didn't know how. I didn't even understand coaching was even a thing. I was terrible at social media. I never had any social media or any of that stuff. I didn't know how it was going to happen. But I just kind of started to trust myself that I was kind of ready for it. I would write every day, I'm a CEO. I would write that all the time, even though I was in a corporate job. This is what I mean. You have to live it first before you can experience it. And then what happened is my corporate job, that was my safety, my security, it crumbled, right? At the same time, my 4-year relationship crumbled too. Okay. In like the same week, they both happened. And it was because I was becoming more conscious, and I started to realize, wow, I'm really out of alignment with what I believe is my true self. Okay. And these things fell apart. Now, in that moment, these things look really opposite to what you want, right? They look opposite, and you're like, oh my God, my life is crap. Like, what's happening? But actually, that is the time where you have to persist in faith of seeing what you're seeing, because all that's happening is it is creating the space for your manifestation to come in. And you don't need to know the how. You actually have to let go of the how. You just need to persist in living in the end. So even though I didn't understand, I kept, being like, okay, I'm a CEO. I have this vision. I know I'm meant to help people. I know I'm meant to help people. And I went on a journey, and it probably took me about a year. So it's not always a comfortable journey, guys, especially when you're trying to shed old versions of you. But it does get easier if you have people that understand this, because it makes it a lot quicker, and you have the tools, which is why I'm trying to share this with the world now, so that it doesn't take you the time that it takes me and the lessons. But I went on this journey of like getting rid of the fear of rejection so that I could show up online and help people. I started to get rid of these fears in me so that I could become who I am now, to even show up online, to even be heard, to even have a podcast right now that you're listening to. I had to shed those things in me before, and that was the journey. as part of that, one of the things that I knew is I had to show up and share my voice. I had to be seen on camera, right? But I was so fucking fearful of this. I promise you, I was so scared of it. But I just knew that my higher self, the self that part of me that, you know, was helping people was sharing their voice to be heard. And, you know, one day I was like, okay, it's done. I just need to do it. I just need to get on camera and I just need to share this, whatever I have to say. It wasn't great in any shape or form. And when I did that, because I had done all of that work of removing all of those subconscious fears and regulating my nervous system and everything, remember, I didn't fully understand how I was creating this at the time, but I persisted in it. Despite my 3D looking fucking horrible and feeling all these things, I persisted. No, I know my business is going to work and I'm going to share my message with the world and I'm going to help so many people. That is what I kept persisting in, even though I had no evidence of it. But it worked. It actually worked because I didn't give up. I stayed faithful to that vision and that new identity of who I was. And then when I showed up on camera, I filmed some reels. They weren't great at all. I put the second one onto TikTok. I hadn't even used TikTok before then. I put the second one onto TikTok and it went viral to 4.6 million. And overnight, my business boomed. Like literally, I was fully booked. I was really a CEO at that point, you know. It came full circle, but it meant I had to persist through it. And, you know, even from a relationship point, okay. So, you know, if you were manifesting someone, a partner or whatever, and an ex-back, for instance, you might see in your 3D that actually they've blocked you or they're dating someone else. But if you persist in living in the end that you are with them, what you will start to see over it doesn't have to take time, but sometimes it's just shedding those things and the bridge of incident. What you will start to see is suddenly they've broken up with that person. Suddenly you bump into them and it will start to unfold. And if you stay faithful to that state without seeing it, then it will manifest. It hardens into fact. That's what Neville Goddard says. Persist until it hardens into fact. But the problem is a lot of us, what we don't do is we don't persist. You know, for instance, in that time when I started my business, no money was coming in. I didn't have a job, nothing like that. That would have been the time that I could have been like, oh my God, I think I should just go back to my corporate life. It'll be easy for me to get a comfortable job and I'll just continue in that. But I didn't do that. I chose my new identity. I persisted in it instead and it paid off beautifully because now I'm here teaching you guys this and I've worked with so many people around the world and it was meant to be. And I couldn't even imagine being that old identity of me now. Like I couldn't even imagine it. It just was so far away from me now. But there's a fork in the road moment where you have to pick, am I going to persist in who I said I'm going to be and get the world, the manifestation, the relationships that I want? Or am I going to be my old self and go with what's comfortable? And your fearful mind will want you to do that, but you get to choose not to do that. So even when I was manifesting my relationship, my dream relationship, right? Of course, on that way, I had to shed parts of myself, you know. I'd manifested people that were coming back to me with ego or they weren't pursuing me properly or those things. And I realized, wow, I still have these beliefs that I'm not pursued. And, you know, I have a fear of vulnerability. So I was getting people with walls up against me because I had walls. And so I used that feedback to be like, what do I believe about myself to be true? Okay, this is a belief I have. Let me go to my EFT tapping and let me reprogram this belief. Great. Now I don't get that. Then I, you know, was able to then stay in the state of I'm happily married to my dream man. And I persisted in that state without seeing it. Now, in that time, I wasn't dating anyone. So I could have easily been like, but they're not here. They're not here. See, I'm not happy married to my dream man. I'm not that, you know, but I didn't. I stayed faithful to what the unseen and it unfolded beautifully. And that is the trick. So it doesn't matter what you want. Circumstances don't matter. You can have it all. And this is what I'm going to show you how to apply this more, especially if you have an anxious attachment style or you've had a past that looks so different. And you can't even begin to dare to believe that someone could adore you and choose you and be committed to you and you could have the relationship you want. I get it. I was the same, but I promise you, you can. It just takes a little bit of work, but that work is all in you. It's all in you, and that is all I'm teaching now. So if you want to know how to apply this more, I'm going to share more work directly about the law of assumption, especially how you can apply it yourself on my YouTube channel at Candice Tamara _. But also my masterclasses literally teach you the principles of this and give you the tools to reprogram your subconscious mind and your body with exactly what I did using my method. Currently, I have a Stop Attracting Avoidance masterclass right now that you might want to join. I will leave all the links below. Thank you so much for listening. I know that this is not always easy to understand, but I am here every step of the way to guide you to understanding this so that you can apply it and literally transform your relationships. Please be proud of yourself for being here right now, for listening to this, for showing up, and I will see you again on the next episode.